Welcome to toy-polloi. No Legos were harmed in the making of this video.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now today we're going to take a look at rebuilding this vintage Action Man Space Ranger Talking Commander. As you can see here, I don't have a great deal of this figure, but what I do have was very kindly donated by Tony from Analog Toys. Now a while back, Tony very kindly sent me a package full of bits and bobs, and inside this package was this, which is an unused, sort of straight from the factory version of a talking Action Man Space Commando chest. If I pull the cord here, you can hear him say, "I'm going in. We're under attack." Now this is brand new, essentially straight from the factory, and as you can hear it runs a little bit fast, but I've previously shown you in a video how we can fix that. But I thought it'd be quite nice to actually restore this figure, so rebuild it completely, taking this brand new chest section and building a whole figure from scratch and getting the Space Ranger up and ready so that he can go into my collection here at toy-polloi. So let's take a look at what we need to do to rebuild this Action Man. I think the first thing I need to do with this talking Space Commander is sort out the fact that this runs too fast. If I pull this cord, you'll hear that he just runs a little bit too fast. And this is a very easy thing to change. If you look in the sort of back side of this Action Man body, you can see that there's a little metal wire sort of poking out there. And it's actually on a little ratchet system. And all we need to do is move that one along. So we're going to move it to the left by one sort of little ratchet. I've got a pair of tweezers here, so I'm just going to grab the wire and I can pull that up, and there you go, that's knocked along by one of the ratchets. And if I pull the cord now, you can hear that it plays at a more reasonable speed, and if we knock it down one more it should play slightly slower. So let's just carefully do that. And that sounds more like a sort of normal voice. Actually, maybe a little bit too slow even, so let's nudge that up by one again. Oops, that was too far. It can be a bit fiddly to do this. As you can see, I've actually nudged that back up to the original position now, so let's nudge that down. Let's see what that sounds like.
Space station now visible. Prepare to repel invaders.
I think one speed is slightly too fast and one speed slightly too slow, so I'm going to leave it at the sort of slightly faster section now. But as you can see, that's quite an easy change. Now over the last 6 months I've been collecting parts to help me rebuild this Action Man. Tony did include some legs in the box he sent me, and a few other sort of little bits, and I was hoping that these legs would actually work and go straight into this body, but it turns out there's two types of legs. These are legs from a normal blue pants talking eagle-eyed Action Man. You can see that sort of the peg section that they have inside what would have gone inside the original bodies has a sort of little peg going through it like that, but it turns out that the talking Action Man have slightly different legs, and here is a set of talking Action Man legs, and you can see they actually have a sort of a ball joint that finishes the top of the legs. And I've tried fitting these legs in and they do work, but you just can't twist them around, so it took me a while to sort of hunt down a pair of talking Action Man legs with this little ball joint in, and that's the vital part, because it means that this can now slot in there, and you can see that the legs will still rotate because of the ball joint. So if you're rebuilding a talking Action Man, be sort of prepared to hunt for this type of leg, and it did take me a little while. Now I've also found a couple of spare arms. The arms are exactly the same. These are arms from a talking Action Man, and here is an arm from a normal Action Man. As you can see, it's the same joint, so those you can get from anywhere. And again, these just slot in the two holes that go on either side of the body. Actually, I'm just going to sort of rotate this around a bit so I can stop that falling out of place. Let's do that. Should be something like that. I'll just hold that one, and then we have a left arm there as well. Now, before we put this together, we've obviously got to attach a head, and again I've been searching and I have a bag of heads, so we can use one of those. But while we put this body back together, I'm just going to get a bit of elastic and put that in the right position, because we know we need a bit of elastic to hold this head on, and that can just sort of go there. So now I have all these parts ready. It's just a case of putting the body back together and screwing the front part and back part of the chest together. Now this didn't come with any screws, but you can easily buy screws online. These are the same screws that I use for fixing Star Wars toys. They are 3mm diameter by 11 meters long with a sort of small cross point head on them, and you can buy these in bags. I think there's about 50 in this bag for not much money, and these are the exact same sort of screws that were used at the time and are pretty cheap, so it's worth keeping a few bags of these in stock. So let's get this guy screwed back together, and then we can attach his head and start work on finding and fixing a uniform for him. So I've now got the body back together, and I've attached the neck post here, as you can see. Now if you want to see how I put this body back together, then check out some of my other videos, because I really have covered it quite a lot, and also about how to reattach the head. Now I forgot to mention earlier that actually when I got this talking body, it didn't come with the tag. Now I picked this tag up off eBay. I was expecting to get a black one, but it actually turned out to be a grey one, because the Space Commander is supposed to have a black tag. So it's a little bit unfortunate that I got the grey one, but it'll do for now. I'll pick up a black one at some point. These are reproduction ones, so they're pretty easy to get. Now with the head, I have a selection of heads over here in my head bag, and I'm just going to pick one that I think looks best. I've got a few, as you can see, in various states of sort of wear and tear. This blonde guy, the eyes are pretty yellowed. This guy with the beard actually doesn't look too bad, and then we've got another blonde guy here who's not in bad condition either, so it's going to be one of those two. I think we'll do the guy with the beard, because I haven't got any bearded action men in my collection, so I think we'll use that one. And these just clip in place, you just have to push them on. So let's just push that one on like so, and there's the Action Man body all back and ready to go. So let's pull the tag just to check it still works.
Oxygen level falling.
It is, oxygen level is falling. So now we can move on to the outfit. The outfit is another area that's taken me a little while to sort of track down all the pieces. Some bits are easy to find and other bits take a little bit of sort of hunting. The first bits you need obviously are his boots, which he has some white space boots, and gloves. I would class these as relatively straightforward to get. I picked these up first and very quickly. Next I needed to find the correct helmet, which is this black space helmet. Again, that took me a little while. The blue one seems to be a lot more common, but I managed to get the black one, and also his black blaster there, which goes in the holster on his body. Now this piece seems to be a lot harder to find, just because it tends to tear. It's made of a sort of rubbery plastic. This is his sort of tabard, which says Space Ranger on it, and this is the Space Commander one. And I was lucky enough to purchase this one off someone who saw that I was sort of hunting for it. And the final thing I needed was his jumpsuit, and again this I managed to get from Lawrence at Toy Planet UK on his Facebook page. He very kindly sold this to me because it was something I needed. Now these do need a little bit of fixing. I've already done some sewing on this because some of the seams are undone, but it's missing an armband that should go around the arm on the left hand side, so we're going to make that. And also the helmet should have some little insignias on it. The little C-shaped logo there should appear on either side of the helmet, so we need to make those. So let's get on with that. To make the replacement helmet stickers and armband, I first took the tabard and scanned it in on a flatbed scanner. This image I then took into Photoshop and was able to use that as a guide to recreate the C-shaped logo that appears on the front of the tabard, and from that I was then able to make different versions of that, one for the sticker set to go on the helmet and one to go on the armband. Now the armband ones need to be printed out onto some special paper that can be ironed onto fabric, and the helmet stickers I will print out onto sticky backed glossy paper that we can then cut out and apply to the helmet. And these are the two files that I've ended up with, and I've already printed them out, as you can see. So here are the stickers for the helmet. That's, as I say, printed out onto some glossy sticky backed paper. My printer's been playing up a little bit and it took me a while to get it to print out in red, but I've now solved that, so that's all done. And then the armband, what you have to do is you can buy some printer paper that you can iron onto fabric. So you print it out back to front, as you can see, this is back to front, and I'm then going to iron this onto some thin cotton material like that, and we can then cut that out and we'll make an armband that we can slot over his outfit. The original armband was actually glued in place, but I think I'm just going to make one that I can sort of slide up the arm, so if I ever do find an original I can sort of change it out. But so what we need to do now is actually iron this onto the fabric, and once that's done we can get that fitted onto the figure. So let's get this ironed on. When using the iron-on transfer sheets, you'll have to follow the instructions that come with them. They all work slightly differently. This one just needs to be a fairly hot oven. As you can see, I've ironed that on and then trimmed off the excess, and it doesn't look too bad at all. I did a little bit of an error there on the edge. I didn't press down the iron hard enough, but that doesn't actually matter for this, because what we're going to do is to make the finished armband. I'm going to sort of fold this over and then sew a tiny little sort of line across the bottom there. And I've already got here a bit of cotton, if I can pick up the needle, and some blue thread. So I'm just going to sew a little line just across the end of that. It needs to go in a little way because I've made the armband slightly too big, just so that I've got a bit of leeway in my sort of creation process. So I can just pop the needle in there and I'll sew along, and it shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes, and then we can test this on the figure and see how it looks. I'm hoping it will look as good as the original. That's that little bit sewn, and I can turn this inside out, I hope, sort of carefully. Oops. And there we have the armband. That looks really nice actually. I'm quite pleased with how it's come out. So let's bring in the figure and we can slot this onto his, goes on his left arm with the C up the correct way, so hopefully that will still fit over his hand. And then I should be able to just sort of pull this up the sleeve to about sort of bicep height. Make sure it's not too ruffled. And there we go. I'm really pleased with how that's come out. Now, as I say, the original one was glued on, so you could actually glue this onto the undersuit, but I think I'm sort of happy with it like this, and I can always change it if I want to. But as you can see, that's quite a good recreation of the original armband. Now for the helmet, as I say, I've printed these out onto some glossy sticky backed paper, and there's a definite left side and right side of these. There are two different versions of the logos, you can see, with the little rings of the planet sort of facing in different directions. So I created both of those, and the one with the ring pointing down to the right goes on the right side as you're looking at the helmet, and the other one goes on the other side, obviously. So all I've got to do is I can actually get this backing paper off, which is sometimes easier said than done. There you go. Take that off, and then these go on either side of the helmet, just sort of just above the visor. So I'm going to stick one on that side, and we'll do the other one on the other side. And that just finishes the helmet off there. So we can now put the figure back together, and we'll take a look at him all completed. And here he is, the completed talking action man space ranger commander with everything back in place. As you can see, the little armband works really nicely, and the little stickers on the helmet do make it just sort of finished really. Without those it just looks a bit like a plain helmet. It's been a fairly fun restoration to do, mainly because I've had to spend so long tracking down parts, and often with restorations that is the biggest part, is trying to find original parts that you can swap out and just sort of finish off the toy with. But in this instance there did need to be a few little fixes, like putting the body back together, because I only had the chest to start with. So I do want to say a massive thank you to Tony from Analog Toys for sending this over, and if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel then please do. He does some really interesting videos on the history of toys, and very in-depth videos, far more in-depth than my reviews, so really well worth checking him out. And if you haven't subscribed, go straight there now and subscribe. I'll put links to his channel in the description. And all the files I made for this project to recreate the armband and the stickers will be available on toy-polloi.com, so go and check out that. There's plenty of other files there for you to use for all sorts of toy ranges, and it contains links to all the videos that I produce that are relevant to those files, so go and check that out. So I hope this video has been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
As a little end piece to this video, I thought I'd show you what happened to the remains of the figures that I was left with after completing the Space Ranger. Now I did actually have enough to put another figure back together. This is actually the body of a talking action man, but it doesn't have any of the internals. It's an empty figure, and obviously this uses the wrong legs that I showed you earlier on in the video. But I was able to make this sort of kit-bashed figure, which is a little bit like a sort of cannon fodder figure, as you can see, because he's got a very strange face with wonky eyes. But he will do for sort of army building and maybe sort of some action scenes, because he's a little bit floppy and can't be posed fully. And maybe in the future I can find some other legs for him, and so he will get restored. But for the moment I put him in one of my toy-polloi jumpsuits, and he can join the other guys here who sort of appear in my videos. So thanks for watching.